A few years ago, having read Titus 2, I got to understand that one of the things the older women were to train the younger women was how to be busy at home, and I began making it my earnest prayer that the Lord would help me to be busy at home, because I knew it wasn't just about being busy for the sake of it, but being busy for a purpose, for the glory of God. And that's what I want to share in this video. This video is really about my choice to be a keeper at home or to be busy at home, and share at least 7 points of why I have chosen to do that. I am not going to share them in a particular order. I may talk about a point or two at different places in the video, but if you would want the organized way of putting this point, I am in the process of writing a blog about it, and I hope that you will be blessed when you read the blog. I will have it linked in the description below so that you can get all the points written out clearly and in order. In case you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Clara, a stay-at-home, work from home, homeschooling mom of 2 who is passionate about biblical womanhood and all matters surrounding the same, and viewing the same from the biblical perspective. My prayer is that you would come away edified from every piece of content that I share. But one of the reasons why I am a keeper at home is because I have opportunity to express my creativity for the glory of God. I have loved this because I get to come up with a new way of doing things, come up with new recipes, and enjoy the process. I will get inspiration from others who have done the same recipes, put my own twist to it, and have my family enjoy the same. And as we speak, actually, I am working on a meatball recipe, and I am one who goes for from scratch cooking, and that's why I trusted the Lord and invested in a grinder or a mince. This is where I get to mince my own meat when I need it, and I can go ahead and work with my minced meat or ground beef the way I would want. As you know, ground beef can be very versatile. You can work with it in many ways. So this particular recipe, I will have it linked below because it's our latest recipe on our other channel, Recipes and Hospitality with Clara, with all the details of what I have added in my meatballs. So allow me not to bore you by giving you all the details. But you can see I added in the ingredients together with the egg, shaped them into balls, went ahead and fried them with a little oil on the pan in 2 batches until they were ready. And then I began working on the sauce. I fried onion together with my garlic and ginger, added in my tomatoes and spices, soy sauce together with tomato paste, no salt because dark soy sauce really has salt in itself. Allowed them to cook for a few minutes so that the tomatoes can soften and the other ingredients can also get to cook. Added in some water, thickened as I'm doing right now with some cornstarch and some Royco. Royco is just for the taste. Allowed it to come to a boil. Added in my meatballs, stirred them in really well. Added in also some lemon juice. I didn't show where I did this, but I added some lemon juice just to give it that nice tangy taste, especially if you're working with them, for example, with fries. And we had our meatballs with rice for supper, and my people really enjoyed this recipe. Now, this is the next day, and one other reason why I am a keeper at home is because I want to trust the Lord to facilitate the training of my children in life and godliness. And as you know, training takes time, and we do this with my husband especially to follow them up on their personal walk with God. So before they wake up, they have their personal devotion, pray, read the word, journal. As you saw, one of my daughters who had read the Bible was journaling, so that they get to grow also in godliness. And for them to get here, I have done a past video where our youngest was much younger, and I had to do her devotion with her because I knew training takes time, so that I get to train her how to hear from the Lord and from His Word. So that's one other reason why I am at home, so that I can follow up. Because if it was easy, really, I wouldn't need to be at home. But anyone who's listening to me and who knows anything about training, training takes time, takes you following up to make sure that your children or the one you're training grasps what you're saying. The other reason why I'm at home is to provide a conducive environment for the purposes of God to thrive in each of my family members. For example, just ensuring there's order in the kitchen, because this is where really I operate from a lot. Ensuring I have a clean home, I have good food for my people to eat. So I take this very seriously. Those who have watched me know that I like to do this kind of work at night so that I have the kitchen ready. But I happen to have also meetings in the evenings that take up a lot of my time in the evening. So sometimes I'm not able to work on my kitchen to leave it as clean as I would want it. So I had to do it this morning. But thank God that my children are able to continue with their schoolwork, because they begin with schoolwork first thing in the morning. I'm usually with them in class, but not all the time, because they can work, come consult me, and then continue, so that after breakfast, we can now be together in school. One of the things I do is reduce the dishes, because one of the chores that my children do is wash dishes. But in the morning, I wash a few just to reduce them, so that we don't have them piling. As you know, dishes can really pile. So that's also another thing I do in training them in godliness and in life, for them to do chores so that they can learn to be responsible. Now we are working on our tea. As you know, Kenyan tea, we just love tea. I rarely show myself making it like I'm doing, but mostly it's basically water, milk, tea leaves, and you can add tea masala or ginger. I like to do 1 part of milk to 2 or 3 parts of water, depending on how much milk I have. If I have a lot of milk and I really want good tea, like when I'm relaxing or just resting, I will do 1 to 1.5 parts water. But usually for a lot of tea, I work 1 part of milk, 2 parts of water, and then tea leaves, depending on how much you would want, and of course also the spice. So this cake is another expression of creativity that I'm grateful I'm passing on to my daughters, because one other reason why I appreciate my being at home is a lot of what we do is more caught than taught. We had some overripe bananas and she requested to make for us, rather than them going bad, to work on this banana cake, which ended up being such a help, because that's what we had for breakfast. Now that I had a lot to do in the kitchen, I wouldn't have had time to make something for breakfast. So she did that the previous day, and at this point it's after breakfast. I get to soak my dishcloths. As I told you, this is one reason why I'm at home, to follow through, just to make sure that things are working, and learning also new skills. My sourdough journey, feeding it there so that it's ready for me to use when I need it. Later, I had a meeting, so I didn't have a lot of time to cook, and I'm grateful that, again, like my daughters, got to make those chips masala, and we really enjoyed it. Yeah, and this is still part of why I'm at home. We have tap water in the village. By the way, I live in the village, but it's not very clean, because it's just organized from the village level. We organize ourselves in the village and we get water for ourselves, at least until hopefully we will get the clean water from elsewhere. But it's not too bad, but we can't wash whites with it, and that's the one that operates the machine as well. So we are not able to wash all the clothes in there. I get to wash the whites so that I make sure that they are clean. Thankfully, there are not so many. So after washing, I got to get my collard greens or skuma for supper together with egg. I thought, let me not show that, because we would have so many recipes. But I like to feed my family also with healthy meals from the farm, and so I'm grateful that I was able to have that for our supper. So this is another recipe that I'm working on now for breakfast. This is another day, the next day actually, and I'm trying to work on skillet potatoes or a recipe close to that. I'm not really sure it's skillet potatoes, but I got to work with all these vegetables so that we could have them for breakfast. And as I prepare the vegetables, I can tell you another reason why I am at home. I want to be available for my husband and children as a wife and mother. I am taking the opportunity of being home as a way of nurturing relationships. I find that when I am at home, I am available. If my husband goes and he comes back exhausted, I have made sure that everything is okay, the house is okay, he has healthy food, my children have healthy meals, and so I just find that I am available for them to talk. Sometimes we will take extended times just to talk on the dinner table because I'm available and I'm not going anywhere. So I find that my relationship with my husband and children is nurtured by the mere fact that I am at home. And so as we continue with this recipe, the point I had talked about having space to express my creativity unhindered is one of the reasons why I am here. That's why I may have time sometimes to work on a new recipe like this one. And as you saw, I had my onions in there, had my garlic and ginger, had some spices, stirred them up, and when they were cooked the spices for a minute or two, I added in the carrots, allowed the carrots to cook, and then added in my potatoes that I had cut up in small pieces, as you can see, and then added in a little water so that the potatoes can cook. I didn't want them wet, so just a little water covered so that they could cook. And then on the side, I worked on some scrambled eggs, just 3 because I didn't have a lot of eggs. And when my carrot and potatoes were ready, I now added in my cooked scrambled eggs together with my green pepper. So because they were cooked, I just ensured to mix everything together, and that was it. That's what we had for breakfast. So you can see that's the other reason why I am at home. So my daughters go to do their chores, and this is one of the chores of my older daughter. She cleans the living room area, which really goes all the way to the outside part, and our younger daughter will work on the dining room area together with cleaning their room and their bathroom. The next reason why I'm at home is to keep an eye on what's going on in my home. As you might be aware, danger is lurking everywhere, including right in our homes through what we now know as the media space. So that unless the Lord helps us to keep an eye on our children, so that we help them to make the right decisions, to view life from a godly perspective, to say no to wickedness, then we can lose a whole generation. And I find this very critical. That is our meal, and that's how it looked like. And we were able to get ready and got into school. So here I get to help my girls in school together with work that is needed to be done. The things that I do personally, like the ministry I do, prepare for ministry, prepare for an online class and such. So just being at home helps me to keep an eye. I may not do it perfectly, but I will try to do it in a way that I'm sure what's going on with our children. One of my favorite chapters in the Bible is the Proverbs 31 passage, and one of the things that passage says is that she watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. So we find a lot of our children getting lost because there's nobody actively watching over the affairs of the household and in a way that a mother can. The other reason is to offer a support system for my husband in his role that is in the headship and provision. So part of what I'm doing, I believe, is ensuring that we are living frugally, we are living within our means, being creative. You notice most of my recipes are not high-tech that need a lot. I do a lot of homemades, like I have just worked with mozzarella cheese that is homemade, and that just reduces on the budget, and I know it reduces the pressure on my husband, for example, as a provider, supporting him in his role as the head of our home. Well, this is another recipe again that I'm trying out, having opportunity to express my creativity. I thought of this recipe, as I watched pizzas being made, and I thought, why not try this one with egg? And I just made a simple pizza crust, applied tomato paste on it because it was over lunch hour and I didn't want to take a lot of time in the kitchen. And then I went ahead and sprinkled some cheese on it, homemade mozzarella cheese actually. And then I put on the vegetables, that's the onions, the tomatoes, the egg, and then added some more cheese on top, and then the salt. Then I went ahead and baked it. Now that I'm talking after we have had the pizza, I would say it was very nice, except that I think it would have tasted even better with a touch perhaps of minced beef a little, or pieces of sausage or ham would have really enhanced the taste. But I would say overall it was a really nice pizza. So as I was doing this, it was threatening to rain. So I had to rush outside and collect the clothes that were outside and come back. I think this is really part of watching over the affairs of my household, keeping an eye on what is happening. And the final reason is really one of the ones the Lord used to convict me, together with just watching the lives of older women, that it is scriptural and hence the will of God for me to do what I'm doing, because if the older women were to train the younger women to be busy at home, and when you look at the Proverbs 31 passage, one of the verses I have quoted about watching over the affairs of a household, I realized that this was part of the will of God for me. And I say this aware that women who are watching me, who may not have the privilege and the opportunity to be at home, or some feel that the Lord has not called them to express their womanhood that way, my desire is that as I share this would offer inspiration, because I know you have your journey with the Lord, and I believe He will lead you and cause you to be fruitful in the way that you sense He is leading you. But I trust that as I share what the Lord has ministered to me personally, this would be a blessing to you and just lead you to trust Him to be all that He intends for you to be, to raise the next generation for His glory, because this is part of why we are keepers at home. So we finish off the video just showing you a meal that our youngest 10-year-old made for us for supper, just rice and some vegetable stew, and I was grateful for that because I know this is part of what they are learning as I am at home. So as is always our custom on this channel, we will pray as we finish, as we trust the Lord that He will be with us and help us to be fruitful as women. Indeed, Father, we pray that you be with me and my viewer. I pray that you minister to us very specifically concerning your will for us to be keepers at home. I pray that we will be open to hear your voice and to be led of your Spirit, so that the next generation, our homes, will be a blessing, and that you will be glorified as you use us to provide a conducive environment for your purposes to thrive in the lives of those that we are nurturing, those that we are serving in our homes for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.